The Toronto Raptors have an impossible decision right now, as recently acquired Davion Mitchell is up for his rookie extension this fall ahead of this year's NBA season, and the Toronto Raptors have never seen him play in a Toronto Raptors uniform, so they have to decide whether or not to give him this contract extension, despite younger guys coming up in their system like Jamal Shed, who provides similar value out there on the roster. So we're going to describe what the situation, what the predicament is for the Toronto Raptors right now regarding Davion Mitchell, what his future holds with this Toronto Raptors team, and whether or not we can expect an extension for Davion Mitchell, especially with other players in the wing for the future of that position for this Toronto Raptors team. So lots of stuff to really dive into in this video, but before you do, folks, again, NBA season is coming back. It's around the corner, so make sure you guys hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing regarding this Toronto Raptors team. But what's going on? What's happening with this squad? Well, as we discussed kind of in the intro, if you're not familiar, the Toronto Raptors ended up acquiring a Davion Mitchell in a trade that was a finesse for this Toronto Raptors team, sending out Jalen McDaniels and bringing back Davion Mitchell, Sasha Vezenkov, who ended up just buying out for $0, and then a couple of really valuable second round picks for a guy that was really a negative asset for the Toronto Raptors, a liability out there on the contract books for this Toronto Raptors team last season in Jalen McDaniels. But basically, Davion Mitchell, while he's a nice piece, the Raptors do have that serious decision to be made. Aaron Rose kind of brought this up in a recent article, saying the 25-year-old is entering the final year of his rookie contract, and Toronto has until October 21st, the 6 p.m. Eastern deadline, to decide on whether or not to offer Mitchell a contract extension. It's a decision that is made more complicated because Mitchell won't have ever played a regular season game for Toronto before that deadline, and the Raptors will have to make that decision. And Aaron Rose kind of breaks it down, essentially saying out there that for Mitchell, any contract offer from Toronto at this point would be pretty low. For comparison, guys like Peyton Pritchard inked a 4-year, $30 million contract before last season, despite being in and out of the rotation for the Boston Celtics. Zeke Naji on inked a similar salary priced at a 4-year, $32 million deal for the Denver Nuggets, and a similar situation from Mitchell last summer. A similar contract would pay Mitchell roughly $7.5 to $8 million per season to stay with the Toronto Raptors moving forward. So that's the expected market for a guy like Davion Mitchell, who, again, is coming to this Toronto Raptors team from Masai, Ujiri in this group as an unknown, at least to Toronto Raptors fans. You know, nightly, day in, day out fans of the NBA have probably watched this guy be an absolute pest, be an absolute ball hound for the Sacramento Kings, but he was out of the lineup for that Sacramento Kings roster last season as well. Now, again, they do have De'Aaron Fox. They had some guys at that position to make it competitive for minutes, for run, for opportunity. They were a team that didn't have the success they were hoping for, but still, Malik Monk, lots of guards at that sort of on-ball position. But looking at his stats for last season, especially in the second half of the year, did improve, did get better, right? 5 points per game, 1.3 rebounds, 2 assists per night. Again, on limited run, shot 36% behind the three-point line, but 46% on corner threes. Will be 26 going to next season. Is 6'2", but again, the box score is not going to indicate the value of a Davion Mitchell, because the same way you look at a guy like Patrick Beverley, you looked at, dare I say, a Drew Holiday out there, just being an on-ball pest, really getting into the grill of the offensive ball handler, right, and doing those types of things in the offensive end, right. Davion Mitchell is a disruptor. He is a guy that can pick up full court, be mobile, and do those types of things in the defensive end that have that impact on winning. And the fact that his jump shot has improved, and the stats are a bit skewed because, again, he wasn't really in the rotation to start last season, so you're getting a lot of games where there wasn't a ton of run, wasn't a ton of opportunities for him to really ball out and perform at that high level, right? Davion Mitchell is a piece that is a little bit of an unknown, with the opportunity to really be in that commanding position for the backup point guard spot for the Toronto Raptors this year, right? Davion Mitchell has that opportunity to really prove himself, to come in, lock in, and be ready to go on this Toronto Raptors team. But long term, if we're looking at a contract extension, and flexibility has been well known to be a factor for this Toronto Raptors team moving forward, right? What's the deal? What's going to be happening here with Davion Mitchell? Because again, looking at this Toronto Raptors team, there's a few guys that do have the opportunity to, slide their way in at that point guard spot for the future of this team. And the big one, sort of named on this list, is Jamal Shed, who is a very, very similar player to a Davion Mitchell, right? Coming out of college, coming out of Houston, right? Was one of those, again, ball pests, one defensive player of the year out there in his college season, is a winner, is a game time guy. And yes, during Summer League, didn't set the world on fire. His jump shot is very, very questionable. Davion Mitchell's jump shot is much further along. But Davion Mitchell's, when he was coming into this rookie season, was in a similar boat, similar career trajectory to a Jamal Shead. But, again, Davion Mitchell has proven that he has improved that three-point shot and still that on-ball hound, but they're very, very similar players. So maybe the Toronto Raptors be interested, more intrigued, the younger guy, moving forward for the squad, rather than, and seeing how it all plays out. Because again, if he's extended, if he's not, they can do this, and the contract that would be offered to Davion Mitchell would be flexible enough to likely be traded, attached in type of deals. So it's not the end of the world if something's made out there and it doesn't work out and they move in the direction of a Jamal Shead or into some other player out there in the league. But basically, the Toronto Raptors might be interested. They have that multiple year, and you don't see it out there in the Basketball Reference kind of stat breakdown, but they have Jamal Shead under contract for, I believe, the next 3 seasons. He signed a guaranteed sort of contract for multi-years, despite being a second-round pick. That was one of the things that he wanted if he were to get drafted rather than signing as an undrafted player. And that's kind of a little conflict that without a bit of regular season to watch these guys play. Again, sometimes in preseason, we'll probably get to see this run before one of these decisions is actually made, right? Jamal Shead and Davion Mitchell might be vying for their, integrated piece into the future for the Toronto Raptors team. Now, Davion Mitchell can also play as a smaller kind of off-ball guy, given how well he is as a corner shooter, and obviously can defend players that are bigger than him, so that's one thing to factor in as well. But one thing I know is we're going to have a couple of ball pests for this team going off in the season, and one thing that should be noted is Hoops Hype broke down a lot of guys that were eligible for rookie extensions, and Davion Mitchell is essentially a guy that you can see a likelihood of extension is highly unlikely. So they're projecting that, Davion Mitchell, who's now on the Toronto Raptors, is unlikely to receive one of these contracts, one of these extensions from this Toronto Raptors team. And that does make sense because, again, the Toronto Raptors have not seen him play, out there in this Toronto Raptors group for this system, and have to see the fit around a guy like IQ, around a guy like Scottie Barnes, around like a lot of these players that have their stock. The Raptors have their stock very, very deeply invested in moving forward in the future of this team. So yes, while we can look at a guy like Jamal Shead as a piece, he's still an unknown rookie. I don't know if you can get Davion Mitchell on a $6, $7, $8 million contract. It makes sense for the Toronto Raptors to probably just lock him in rather than having him as a free agent. Because if this season does go well, right? Because we know he has that NBA level skill at the defensive end as well as a 3-point shooter. If everything kind of comes together for Davion Mitchell, right, you don't want to just, be cheap, be a penny pusher or whatever. I don't know what the heck you'd call that, penny counter for Davion Mitchell, right? Looking at this stuff, if you can actually get that value back in return for Davion Mitchell in one of these types of deals. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you want to see the Toronto Raptors extend Davion Mitchell? It is straight up an impossible decision because, frankly, we haven't seen him play on this Toronto Raptors team. We have seen him play on other teams and stuff, but I don't know. I like Davion Mitchell's game, but the right answer is only going to be determined once the season begins. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.